In a large bowl, sift together 150 grams or around 3/4 cup of the granulated sugar substitute of your choice. I'm actually using a mix of brown and granulated swerve in this recipe. Add 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, a half teaspoon of ground ginger, a half teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and a half teaspoon of salt. Sift everything together until they're combined and there are no lumps. Stir in 3 large room temperature eggs until fully combined. Stir in 15 ounces of pure pumpkin puree. Make sure you get the pure pumpkin and not pumpkin pie filling. Add 237 milliliters or around 1 cup of the room temperature keto milk of choice. My keto milk of preference is always coconut milk. And a half teaspoon of vanilla extract. Stir everything together until everything is completely smooth. Pour the filling into a prepared 9-inch keto pie crust. I'll leave a link in the description to my coconut flour pie crust that I use. Tilt the pan back and forth just a little bit just to make sure that the filling is evenly distributed throughout the pie crust. Bake the pie in a preheated oven at 350 degrees for 55 to 60 minutes or until the center is fully set. Now, if you want to avoid over browning your crust, then after the pie has cooked for about 15 minutes, remove it from the oven, then cover the crust with a pie crust cover or some aluminum foil, then continue to bake it for the entire 55 to 60 minutes. Mine, it is dark brown because I forgot to cover mine. So it still tasted fine, it was just very dark. Once your pie is baked, remove it from the oven and allow it to sit at room temperature for at least 2 hours or until it comes mostly to room temperature. After 2 hours, store the pie in the refrigerator until you're ready to serve it. In a large mixing bowl, sift together 122 grams or around 17 tablespoons of coconut flour, 15 grams or around 1 tablespoon of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 60 grams or around 1/3 cup of the granulated sugar substitute of your choice. I'm using granulated monk fruit sweetener. 60 grams or around 1/3 cup of the brown sugar substitute of your choice. I'm using brown monk fruit sweetener. 1½ teaspoons of ground cinnamon, a half teaspoon of ground ginger, a half teaspoon of ground allspice, and a half teaspoon of ground nutmeg. Sift everything together until combined and there are no lumps. Stir in 3 large room temperature eggs, a half cup of butter that's been melted and cooled, 124 grams or around a half cup of room temperature plain yogurt, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Stir everything together until a very thick batter forms. Spread the batter evenly throughout a lined 8 by 8 inch cake pan. Bake the cake in your preheated oven at 350 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes or until golden and the tester comes out clean. Once the cake is baked, remove it from the oven and allow it to cool in the pan for about 20 to 30 minutes or until it's firm. Once the cake is firm, grasp the overhanging parchment paper, lift the cake out of the pan and transfer it to a wire rack, then allow it to cool completely before adding frosting and slicing it into your desired pieces. I usually use my keto cream cheese frosting and I top it with a little bit of cinnamon sweetener mix. I'll leave a link in the description to that if that's what you want to use, or you can just use any frosting or topping of your choice once the cake is cooled. In a large mixer bowl, beat 3/4 cup of softened room temperature butter on medium for about 1 minute or until it's smooth. Add 2 large room temperature eggs and 2 teaspoons of maple extract, then stir together until it's smooth. Gradually sift in 128 grams or around 2/3 cup of the brown sugar substitute of your choice. I'm using brown monk fruit sweetener. 10 grams or around 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a half teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of ground ginger, 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, a half teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and 112 grams or around 1 cup of coconut flour. Beat everything together until a smooth dough forms. Gradually fold in 6 ounces of keto butterscotch chips. I usually use Lily's butterscotch chips or Chalk Zero chips. Scoop the dough out 1 tablespoon at a time onto a large lined baking sheet. Press each scoop out to your desired size and shape. These don't really expand or anything, so pretty much whatever shape you put them onto your baking sheet, that's what shape they're going to be once they're done baking. Bake in your preheated oven at 375 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes or until the cookies are golden. Once the cookies are done baking, remove them from the oven, allow them to cool on the pan for about 10 minutes or until they're firm. Then transfer the cookies to a wire rack and allow them to cool completely before serving. Place 9 ounces of Keto white or milk chocolate baking chips into a microwave-safe bowl and microwave on high in 20-second intervals until the chips are fully melted. Stir the chips with a fork after every interval until the chips are smooth. Remove the chips from the microwave and quickly stir in 47 grams of pumpkin puree and 1 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. If the mixture hardens while stirring, microwave on high for another 10 seconds to soften the mixture. Spread the mixture evenly into a 9 by 5 inch lined loaf pan. Place it in the freezer for 1 hour or until firm. Remove it from the freezer and cut it into your desired size pieces. Store the leftovers in an airtight container in the refrigerator for up to 1 week.